The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you in the studios where it all happens. And reminding you, I'm running for governor of Kansas. Please don't forget to head over to the website, DougBillings4Kansas.com. DougBillings4, F-O-R, Kansas.com. We are issuing a challenge to all of the listeners and viewers of this program, $5, $10, $20, nurses especially, who I will do everything within my power when I'm elected governor of Kansas to rescue you from what is beginning to become known as a tyrannical board of nursing in our state. A radical, apparently liberal-minded mob of 6 people who sit on this board who are persecuting conservative nurses for clerical issues that are very simple, clicking a box twice when trying to renew their license, or publicly posting on their own private and personal Facebook or X pages, social media pages, their political beliefs or opinions. The Kansas Board of Nursing has taken it upon themselves to discipline these nurses, causing the nurses to lose income and lose patients, putting patients at risk. And in a time when nursing is experiencing a shortage of qualified and dedicated healthcare professionals, the Kansas Board of Nursing seems to be doing everything they can to ruin the lives of not only nurses, but of patients as well. So we have a political-minded mob of people, and I've said that on day one, when I'm elected governor, executive orders will rain down upon the board. We will remove the 6 serving members, replace them with non-political-minded people who want to engage really in a lawfare and ruin the lives of nurses for non-clinical issues. Look, it's one thing if a nurse is diverting narcotics, stealing narcotics from a hospital or a pharmacy. That's one thing, obviously a serious issue, but none of these nurses are even remotely accused of doing such things. These are either being persecuted for their personal beliefs, political beliefs that they post online, or clerical errors whereby, again, as I said, clicking a box twice. By the way, how is it even possible that the Kansas Board of Nursing allows their systems to click a box twice? And then why don't they confront these nurses themselves and say, hey, by the way, we noticed you clicked a box twice. Don't worry, we're working on it. It's a system error. Continue on and we'll fix it. But no, they don't communicate with the nurse, and the nurse loses her license or her ability to prescribe medication. These nurse practitioners have patients. And in the case that we're going to hear about today from Erenss, she's a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So the psychiatric patients in this country, one of the most marginalized groups of patients in America, in Kansas, put at risk because the Kansas Board of Nursing has a political agenda. Well, not when I'm governor, ladies and gentlemen. I've invited every one of the nurses who have been part of this series to speak with me when I go out on tour in the state and to tell their stories, because the people of Kansas need to know this. And again, please, we, in a month, have a goal. We want to raise $100,000 for our campaign, and every little bit helps. The maximum for an individual is $4,000. For a couple, it's $8,000. You would like to go to DougBillings4Kansas.com. We would appreciate it. And again, try to get that maximum number if you can, but if you can't, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50, it all helps. We need to win this thing. I tell you this, I'm the only candidate talking about this, and I'm the only governor who will put an end on day one to what this Kansas Board of Nursing is doing. So without further ado, part 3 in my series, Corruption Within the Kansas Board of Nursing, with nurse practitioner Erenss. Here we go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. and you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the program. Doug Billings here in my continuing series about the nonsense that's going on, to put it lightly, at the Kansas Board of Nursing and how they are persecuting nurses, nurse practitioners, and other healthcare officials for seemingly being conservative or having conservative views, voicing conservative views. And as a result, nurses are losing their jobs, patients are being put at risk, and it seems as if, I think evidence of the obvious is sufficient, the Kansas Board of Nursing is taking a political stand against conservative nurses. And so joining us today is Anna Erenss, and Anna is a nurse practitioner, a psychiatric nurse practitioner whose patients depend upon her and her prescriptions to receive their medications. Many of these patients, and I'll let her tell the story, but they can function in society, but they need to have their medication. And when the Kansas Board of Nursing removes Anna's license or her ability to prescribe medication, we have multiple dozens of people. And you just imagine if Anna is multiplied, if what's happening to her is happening to other nurses, we have a real patient crisis happening in the state of Kansas. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Anna. Welcome to the program, Anna.
Thank you, Doc, for having me in your show.
You're very welcome. I think this is an important issue that's not being spoken about by any other member of, certainly not the legacy media that we would expect, and no other candidate. In full disclosure, I'm running to be governor of Kansas, and so I've taken a keen interest in this topic, and it's actually become one of my campaign pillars that I will, and on day one of my administration, I'm going to audit the Kansas Board of Nursing and put an end to this nonsense. But I want you to tell the people your story and what this means to you, to your patients, and to healthcare in Kansas in general. So please tell us your story.
So I have been a nurse since 1998, and in 2006, I completed my nurse practitioner in psych, and never had any issues with Kansas Board of Nursing until February 6th of 2025. I received a call from a pharmacist stating that my license was no longer, it lapsed. I immediately stopped what I'm doing, and I called the Kansas Board of Nursing. First, I checked my license, and it was not there, my nurse practitioner. So I called the Board of Nursing. I got the hold of an employee who stated that I clicked twice on the RN license and not the APRN. I did pay $150, but for 2 RN license. When
okay,
I
let me just ask real quick. So you were online reapplying for renewing your license, but you clicked twice on a certain box
in December of 2024.
And
yes.
They didn't send you any warning, any notification.
Nothing.
You heard this from a pharmacist. Okay.
Yes, in February 6, 2025, I stopped immediately, and I reported myself to the Kansas Board of Nursing. I asked him why I was not notified. The employee stated that they don't do that anymore. They don't notify people. And I told her, how can that be even feasible or legal, since I have patients that they depend on my care. It seems like she could not answer the question. I asked her, what can I do right now? Because I already completed my CEU, my continuing education. I paid the fees. She stated that to fax them to her, which I did from my house, from my office. I have an office in my home. I sent them to her immediately. She stated that she got them via email. So she said, no, we need to reinstate your application. So when I went to click on the link, I was not able to load the application. And I tried 3 to 4 times to load it. I couldn't, multiple times. So then I called this person again. She got an employee who's a technology tech. He got on the phone with me. He reported that the computer was very old and they have some trouble loading this application. After After several minutes, he loaded my application. I was able to fill the application. In the process of filling the application, I ran into other problems filling that by clicking. And so finally, I finished the application. I paid the fee to the Kansas Board of Nursing again, another $75. So I basically trust them that the mistake was mine for clicking. But what it got me, the employee, I asked the employee, "Does this happen more often?" She stated yes. And I said, "Well, so can I get," and I told her, since all my requirements are completed and I paid the fee, when can I get my license? She stated that she has to send it to another agency. And I thought, okay. And in the meantime, my patients are going without prescription, and I work with psychiatric, from schizophrenia to bipolar to ADHD, kids in DCF custody who depend on my care. I worked with a population that it's very vulnerable, such as DCF children. And so she stated that she does not know. And when I told her what I'm going to do with my patient, she would not answer. And I told her, you need to understand that Calm Care, which is our mental health area here, it's backlogged because they don't have enough a practitioner or a medical provider. She seems like she did not care. Is the fact that it's almost like I got caught, and therefore I have to have the consequences. And my patient is no longer of value or of concern to them. So my case went to what they call an investigation. And I was wondering, why you are investigating? It's a clerical error. It's a computer error. And the investigation went to this person by the name of Evan Faulkner. It's very interesting because I called the other lady who answered the phone the first time, and I told her, "You told me that this process is not going to be complicated." And she said, "Well, it's in the investigation." I tried to call that person. He did not answer. His receptionist answered, and she was very curt and rude, almost like I'm already a criminal. And I received an email from this Evan stating there were questions. I had to answer. But prior to that, I had to send several emails, which I have a copy of them. Not in one email, I asked that it's making me financially, causing me financial harm. I always said it is about my patients. My patients are in benzodiazepine, and my patients are on Depakote, and if they go without this med, it can cause them to die. No concern whatsoever in the email. Nobody reached to me and say, "Okay, we have this plan." They rely on the ER, an emergency. How can a psych patient go to an emergency room and explain to them that they need a therapy or medication? It is very uncaring. Yet they say they protect.
So their remedy, this is all about you clicking a box twice. This is not a clinical error. You didn't, no. You were not diverting narcotics away from a hospital or anything like that. No. You clicked a box twice, and their recommendation is tell your patients to go visit the ER. You've got to be kidding me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I ended reaching to a couple nurse practitioners who are a friend of mine who agreed to see my patient because they know the implication and the consequences of psychiatric care being not taking care of the patient, what the consequences will happen. So they cared for my patient, but it caused them to have more work for them because they have their own patient. And in the process, we're now into 2 weeks of this and sending email. And then we had winter, they will not tell you what's going on. So there is this board that they meet, but they won't tell me when they meet. And I'm emailing them stating my patients are suffering. I already have 2 patients who become they have symptom came back, such as paranoia, suicidal thought, and so forth. No response, nothing. Then when I went ahead and got an attorney, I ended reaching to an attorney, Diana Bolquist, and she took my case. On her first email to me, she stated to me that I can reach to any legislator, but if I did, I could, the board, the nursing board could retaliate against me. And I thought, why? Why would they retaliate? I thought that's kind of a little bit harsh. But I never reached to any politician, not because I was fearful. It's just because I trusted the Kansas Board of Nursing to do the right thing, because I only clicked. It's a clerical error, not a clinical error. There is a difference. And then we have patient. We have patient that they're going to suffer. So through the investigation, my attorney was very horrified to notify me about the consequences of my clerical error, that I have to be in 3 databases named as a professional. And then that I have to go to her office here in Wichita and sign this consent. And when I went down there and I got the consent and started reading it, it was almost like, you did something wrong, therefore you got to be punished because the Nurses Practice Act said that. And I thought it's a clerical error. I cannot ask for my money in my consent, which I still have all the paperwork. I read it and I felt like I was a criminal. So I signed it under the impression that it is not going to cause any harm to me or my patient, but it did cause. I lost my Blue Cross and Blue Shield contract. My malpractice went from $2,000 to almost $6,000. I had to literally negotiate. When my insurance found out it was clerical error, the adjuster did not know what to say to me. I can tell in the phone that he was disgusted with what happened, but he couldn't do it because they named me as a professional. And professional, it could be from having sex with a patient to assaulting the patient to a clinical, error against, or it's a big. So when a person see that, an insurance company who want to give you a contract, or a hospital who want to hire you, the first thing that goes to their mind is slept with the patient or he did something to a patient, right? Not a clerical error. Yep. Through that, I still went ahead and lost a bunch of my patients. And the way I did it, because they couldn't go to the ER, somatherapy reached to me. And I was grateful to that. And I was able to refer a bunch of patients to somatherapy. And I thank them so much because they took care of my patient. Then the few patients I kept, 2 of them were very psychotic. Nobody can care for them. So I went ahead when I got my license on 2/28. And I asked my attorney, did my clerical error and the consequences for my clerical error was just? And she said, no, it was not just. She said it was a harsh punishment. But through all that, I did not know the registration was very humiliating. So this ID me, it takes a picture of your face, and then you have to put all this information. Then you are basically, I feel like literally, and I'm going to say it bluntly, I'm a sex offender, no different than a sex offender. Feel dirty, felt like my board basically sacrificed me for something that is possibly their fault, because why their computer will allow me to click twice on the RN?
Right.
Why couldn't I load my application to reinstate my license and they had to get help? So there got to be a problem in their system, but I paid for that mistake. And I still been graceful about it. and still took it. And mind you,
yep.
Go ahead.
Well, is there anything? I mean, you clicked a box twice, and
Yes.
is there anything else? What's going on behind the scenes or between the lines here? Have you? I mean, do you post conservative thought on social media? Have you done anything else that would make them angry? Because they've persecuted other nurses for doing such
Yes.
things as well.
And after a nurse practitioner, so a lady who I read her article in the Centennial Topeka, I reached to her, and after she told me her story, I become angry. I become angry because I start thinking I am from a foreign land where corruption is number one. So I understand, and I start thinking: are we here? Do we have corruption? Are they trying to hide something? Then I thought, okay, if the board is composed of non-conservative, and they try, my renewing date is 12/31. President Trump came to the office in 11/8. Yes, I am. I posted. I don't have Facebook, but I am very outspoken about being conservative, not in a way to trump over other, but to love our country. I love the United States very much. I love my people because I've been here 30 years, 33 years.
And you've immigrated legally, by the way.
On an F1 visa.
Yes.
On an MI. This country did not, I never got food stamps or received any benefits. My education was paid for by my family and me. And so I paid my taxes, I paid my dues. So I love the United States. What the United States gives me is freedom. That's what I came for. Amen. And that's what I got. And that's what I want, freedom to choose. But when I found out that it may be some discrepancy, I started thinking, was I attacked because I was a conservative? Because later on, somebody reached to me who has similar mistake, and that person was not conservative. And that made me rethink that I was attacked because I am a conservative woman. But I am not the one who paid for the mistake. It's my patient who paid for my mistake. Several of my patients reached to the Board of Nursing, asking them to why they did what they did, because they are the one who paid for this mistake. None of the Board of Nursing did not reach to any of my patients in regard to their concern, not one of them. And all of them called me asking to why. And I said, I have no idea because I really do not, I am not politically involved in Topeka. I stay to myself, I take care of my health, my patient, and I have a disabled husband who had a stroke in 2018, who was a nurse practitioner and who was very respected in our community. And so therefore, I just stay to myself. I have a small circle of friends, and my patient, I care for my patient. And that's all I do. So I trusted the Kansas Board of Nursing to do the right thing by me and my patient, but they didn't. I was punished for a clerical error.
Did you and your attorney ever get a chance to go and stand before the Board of Nursing to explain your case, your situation?
No, because my attorney explained to me that if I did, then the process will be longer, and that it could be costly, not only to me, but to my patient. So I signed the consent, thinking that it's just a consent. I'll pay a fine. I'm not going to lose my contract and so forth and be in these databases. And now, last week, they turned me to United Health, Optum. So now I have to explain myself, which I did, and I put a clerical error. They were under the impression I did something like slipped with the patient.
Right.
And I sent it to them. Then they put me on hold, meaning I cannot get any patient until they meet and see if they reinstate my contract with them.
So
this is,
so let me just make sure I understand. So the Kansas Board of Nursing has rendered no decision except that they've listed you in this database where now
three.
you are basically given a scarlet letter, right? You're now branded in
Yes,
in the nurse practitioner community as
yes,
someone who has an issue that has to be investigated. And so as a result, you've lost your Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage contract. You've got to look to United Health, and your malpractice insurance has gone up substantially by a couple of $1,000s a month. And so where do you stand? Are you going to appeal this? Are you going to go back in front of the board and see if they will reconsider their ruling and withdraw you from this database? What happens next?
I have no idea yet. No idea, because we got a problem right now. Because if this is what they do to nurses, then we are in trouble. We're not going to have any nurses to care for any patient or any population. So what I'm going to do, I have no idea yet. I have to rethink what I'm going to do, because my patient right now are still suffering. I am still, my two patients who had relapse in their psychosis, I still treating them. I just got both of them stable now. Think about it. We're in June. And it took me all this time to stabilize them. And the families, my patients, are very, very upset and angry at the Kansas Board of Nursing, because they stated they protected the public from me.
Yeah.
No, you did not. You
And how do you
deteriorated my
stabilize a
patient.
patient with no alert? Do are you able now to prescribe medications again, or are you still
Yes,
dependent? Okay, so
yes.
you've got that privilege back.
228 I did.
Okay.
And I was sent, they reinstated my license, my patient, but because I work with fragile population, I ended giving all my all my houses, the YRCs, DCF houses, to SOMA, because I needed them patient to be taken care of. The Kansas Board of Nursing doesn't understand that working with DCF children, only 3% makes it to college. I have my first kid who's an engineer, who's a chemical engineer in Textron. Yeah. And she's willing to come and tell the Kansas Board with how she got there and why she got there. And that is not the only one. I have several. When I told you I mind my own business and I work, I am doing God's work, and they came and destroyed me and my patient. I kept only one DCF house because I have a boy I had since he's 6, and I worked with him. He came from throwing, literally, and I'm going to say it, throwing feces at the teacher to now being a straight A student. This is the population I work with. Mm-hmm. And I'm gifted by God to work with this population. And they came and they destroyed what I'm doing.
Well, and it makes you wonder, because clearly, to your point, here we are with a nurse practitioner, Anna, who is dealing with, in many cases, what society would say the less or non-desirable patients, the ones that are often cast aside and not given proper care. Here we have Anna, who is taking care of this group, this marginalized group of patients, and the Kansas Board of Nursing takes away your license, labels you as a problem because you clicked a box when you were renewing your license twice. You clicked a box twice. My gosh, such a travesty. We can't have anybody clicking a box twice, or we're going to remove your license. I mean, if it wasn't so infuriating, it would be a comedy, but it's so infuriating. And so we are, the point of this, part 3, you're the third nurse who has come to me, and we've talked about this issue with the Kansas Board of Nursing. And I've made no secret about it. I'm running to be governor of this state, and this is a day one issue for me. Kansas Board of Nursing will be audited. This board that's currently serving will be removed, and we're going to get, I'm going to ask nurses like you and the other 2 nurses who have come on the program and other people to make recommendations for changes to this department, because clearly this persecution of nurses who have a conservative bent to their personal views are being persecuted by the board, and we're going to put an end to it. We're going to shine a light on this issue. Anna, we've got a few minutes left. I want to make sure I give you the last word here, just to kind of summarize and leave us with a point that you'd like to make. If you've got a few closing comments, feel free.
I just want you to know that many nurses reach to me through this, and they are scared of the Kansas Board of Nursing. They have their own issues too with them, but they are unable to speak about it because they are fearful of the retaliation of our board against them. And that should not happen in the United States. I came here for freedom, and I demand that freedom. And I want somebody like you and other politicians to keep my freedom and other nurses' freedom intact, and not be fearful of a tyrant board. We cannot have that in healthcare. It must be just, because we care for our patient.
Yes. Amen. Yeah. Well done. Well, I thank you for your service as a healthcare provider, as a nurse practitioner, and as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, especially with regards to these people that you care for. You know, so many people, myself included, view that kind of work as a calling from God, yes, really, to tend to those people. And yes, we are going to do everything we can to highlight this, to continue to put pressure on this Kansas Board of Nursing. And I can promise you that yes, when I win, we are going to, day one, sign executive orders that will end this and issue pardons and get this whole thing situated correctly so we can correct the injustices that have been happening by and through this board. So I don't know if that gives you much comfort, but the end of this is coming. When we win, the end of this nonsense will come quickly, I can promise you. And as I told the other nurses, Anna, you are more than welcome to contact me. I'm at your service. If there's anything that I can do to help, you're more than welcome to come and speak to Kansans as I go through the state and speak to them, to come up on stage and tell pieces of your story so that the public knows what we're up against with regards to a radical left-wing agenda on this Kansas Board of Nursing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a piece of what's happening. We could go on and continue talking about an hour or more about this. We could tell more stories, but we wish, Anna, we wish you well. We will pray for you, and we will make changes when we get into the governor's mansion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. You can support the campaign at DougBillings4Kansas.com. That's Doug Billings, FOR, for Kansas.com. And I'll be right back with some closing comments right after this. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. If it wasn't so infuriating, you would just have to laugh at all of this. But the Kansas Board of Nursing is wildly out of control. They are weaponized against nurses, and we're going to put an end to it. Day one of my administration, executive orders will rain down upon the board. I will remove the sitting members of the board as I can, using every power at my disposal as governor, and we will insert people who are honest, non-politically motivated, who don't have political agendas, and we will fix and remedy this situation. I encourage you to follow the stories. Look up the other two nurses that we spoke with earlier last week. This is part 3. And again, the best way that you can help me help these nurses is help me get elected as governor of Kansas. And to do that, go contribute at our website, DougBillings4Kansas.com. Doug Billings 4, that's spelled out FOR, DougBillings4Kansas.com. And we are in a blitz right now. We are wanting and needing to get donations in so that we can proceed. Unfortunately, as the world sees it, they don't view you as a viable candidate unless you have certain financial backing and resources to prove that you're viable. So that's what we're up against. We'll play the game. Money won't be the reason we win this thing. We're going to win because of our message, but we do need money. It's the way of the world to become noticed and to further the efforts of this campaign. So I'm not a salesman. You know this. It's nothing fun to ask for help, but we do need help. We do need donations. So your call to action is to go to Doug Billings 4, FOR, Kansas, DougBillings4Kansas.com, and donate whatever you can. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in this thing together, and we're going to put an end to the corruption at the Kansas Board of Nursing. I promise you that. Keep on moving along, Kansas. We're in this thing together. Believe it. for the Republic, for Kansas. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.